My only hope is that we get through a Game 7 pregame broadcast without anybody from the Tampa Bay Lightning barging into our broadcast to break it up like what happened at PNC Park yesterday.
Tony La Russa might break into a hockey broadcast. He thinks he owns that, too.
Yeah, I mean, he's bigger than two games. Then again, what he could do and just make it easier for everybody is just hack into TribLIVE and cut our feed, because I understand back in St. Louis he was pretty good at that trick as well. But we'll get to what happened with maybe what didn't happen with the Pirates and Arizona Diamondbacks last night after all the lead-up. Boy, did that fall flat. We'll get to that later, but obviously it's a Game 7 first and foremost tonight over at Consol Energy Center. You can't go onto a website. You can't click onto a link. You can't pick up the Pittsburgh Tribune Review unless you just stole mine. Now, here it is. You can't pick up one of our papers without going inside and seeing item by item, game by game, year by year, as chronicled by our own paper right there, all the failures of the Pittsburgh Penguins in Game 7s, particularly at home in years past. It's very comforting and easy to say, well, history has no effect on tonight's game, Guy, but does it creep into the heads of the players who have been here before in those situations?
I remember we had a discussion specifically leading up to the playoffs as the Penguins were in that 13-2, 14-2 streak about how important it was if they get home ice advantage. And I remember we talked, I think it was Rob Rossi was on with us one day, said the only time he thinks home ice advantage is really important, worth having, is in a Game 7. But that has not been the case.
No.
I mean, they're 5-0 on the road. They've never lost a Game 7 on the road, including, obviously winning their last Stanley Cup. But they're just 2-5 at home, 7-7 all time. And I've been there for, I think, all but that Ed Westfall. I had season tickets the year that the Islanders come back and beat them 4-3, but I had to work that night, and I gave them the ticket to my brother. And So I've been there for all those disappointments. Ken Reggett coming in. They announced that Hextall's hurt. Reggett's starting. Everyone's like, this is in the bag, and Reggett beats them. So I'm braced a little. It's funny now because as my kids are older and they're really into this and watching it, they don't know what to do. They're all tense and talking about sitting in the lucky chairs and wearing a lucky shirt and all this stuff. And if they lose tonight, they're going to be devastated. And I'm just like, I've seen this before.
Well, it's easy to say that so many of these players weren't a part of what happened in the past, and very small of a percentage is part of the roster that can remember what happened when the Civic Arena closed or when they couldn't score a power play goal against Tampa. I mean, things of this sort. So that's true. It's just a small portion of the roster, but they've been hearing it for 48 hours. And to the point of the crowd, this is where I think being at home works against you because it is so tense. And if you give up the first goal, it feels like you've fallen behind 4-0.
Yeah. That first goal, if you go on,
yes, I'm saying
if you've got to kill a penalty in the first fight, it's like, oh my God,
here it goes,
here we go. You lose the opening face-off. They're done. That's over.
There's sort of a curse of the Billy Goat, a curse of the Bambino thing that hangs over that Penguins hockey crowd at home for a Game 7.
Things change, Tim, once the puck's dropped. But I always look at a Game 7 as one team is as glad as hell to be there. The other team has it hanging over their head. They could have wrapped this up. They blew it, and they had to either go back home and travel or go to the other city, which Tampa's had to do here. So I think right from the drop of the puck, there's a slight advantage to the Penguins in that, this is better than what their alternative was. Lightning scores the first goal or things start going poorly, that can be erased but for a tiny smidgen, I think the Penguins have a little bit of an advantage to start the game.
Yeah, I think they're better. I still stand by what I said before. They're the better team, and I always default to that. And
if Stamkos is healthy and playing at his best, maybe not. I think. Well, I admire the way Tampa's played. They're the fuel efficient 4-cylinder car that's getting all this gas. The Penguins are guzzling. The Penguins got the chrome wheels, and they got a horn on the fender on the front. It's all polished up and a convertible, But all their shots, all their gas guzzling only equals the same thing that the little 4-cylinder is getting. And that's why I admire the Lightning. I think they've gotten the biggest bang for their buck in this series.
This is the 10 a.m. hour of the TribLIVE Radio program. Tim Benz, Guy Junker, along a little bit later on, Ken Laird, brought to you by Mama Pepino's Pizza, Pub, and Billiards. With newly added billiard room, enjoy 3,000 square feet of dedicated space for pool tables. Stop in and check out Mama Pepino's Pizza, Pub, and Billiards in Glassport for our daily food specials, happy hour drink specials, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. until 7 p.m., or shoot a game of pool with friends.